I just want to say thank you for coming out tonight. And this is for Rocky.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So about a month ago, I did a show here with Rocky, and it was great, and learned a lot about Plantation. That was the first time I actually got to really talk to him, because mostly for me, I've really just seen him around more than anything. So that was like the first time I really got to sit down and talk to him and get a story and stuff like that. It was a good time. And then a couple weeks after that, I get a message from Rocky. He's like, hey, my boss is coming into Seattle, into the Seattle area, and he'd like to do a show. I'm like, okay. Let's do it. Absolutely, of course. And the only day that you were gonna be able to do it was Monday. And I'm like, well, is Jason willing to open up the bar? And he's like, yeah, it's all good to go. And I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Rum. Plantation rum. I'm like, absolutely. Okay. So then I got the ball rolling. I created the Facebook event page for this. And the show was supposed to be about plantation rum. And like, we're going to talk about like some of the more special rums that you have. And then last week I get a text from you, Jason. It was one of those things, like I always turn my phone off at night when I go to bed. And then it's not good when you turn the phone on and all of a sudden there's all these text messages. And then I got the news from you about Rocky, and I'm like what, Jason? I can't believe this. And then sure enough on Facebook, everyone was already given their dedications. And I thought to myself, well, I mean, what are we going to do about the show? I mean, I just assumed that, well, Rocky's not coming. I guess we're done, and we're not going to do it. And I asked you. I waited a couple days because I didn't want to, And you said you guys talked, and you're like, yeah, you still want to come out and do it, and do the show because that's what Rocky would want.
Well, the show must go on. Still got to pick up the phone. Still got to go to work.
Yeah.
Still got to make drinks, sell rum.
Yeah. So here we are. So, everyone, this is Guillaume from the other side of the country. And can you introduce yourself and tell everyone here who you are and what you do?
So first of all, I am a friend of Rocky, and that's the most important part of me today and for the many years to come. Typical Rocky. Right, you said, he told you, my boss wants to do a show. I had no idea about it. Until you actually told me about it last week. So, I love him. He wanted to do this, probably like a surprise. We'll go to Devil's Reef. I'll show you Jason's bar, which I hadn't seen yet. And he wanted to have a celebration of life because that's what Rocky was all about.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do today. We're just going to celebrate his life, talk about him, and by all means, I'm not the only friend here. So if anybody wants to share, they're welcome to.
Yeah.
Because we're here to honor the man, bathe him in rum, because that's what he loved so much. We picked some bottles that he would have loved to drink with friends, so we'll drink them with him.
Yep.
Not just in spirit. He's here. I can feel he's here.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And that's it. So, what should we do? Should we start with the rum?
I think we should start with a rum.
Okay, let's do this then.
So, which one should we start with?
Let's start with the Plantation Jamaica.
And what Rocky was saying is like this is made for Mai-Tais.
Mai-Tais, punches. I like it in a good old classic Planter's Punch myself.
So we made it because we wanted to make a very traditional Jamaican rum.
Yes.
which is to say more like the type of Jamaican rum that would have been sipped back in the 1930s or 1940s, and when people actually were using some of it in the original Mai-Tai recipe. But we never made it for a Mai-Tai because we don't know how to make a drink. We just make rum. Actually, Alexander Gabriel makes rum with his team in Jamaica at Long Pond and Clarendon.
Yeah.
And we decided to go out there, put out a beautiful 100% pot still, that those beautiful Jamaican retort still rum, which is, it's funny because less than 3% of all the Jamaican rums, aged Jamaican rums today in the world are 100% pot still. You know, so it's
100% pot still.
yeah, 100% pot still.
Wow, okay.
I mean, we're also a Barbados producer. We have the West Indies rum family making Barbados rum for Plantation, and so we love column stills as well. But column still and pot is actually more of a modern thing to do for the Jamaicans. You know, the columns never came in before the 1950s in Jamaica.
Wow.
Which is actually amazing because that was one of the very last islands to ever get column stills.
Wow, okay.
So these guys, until the 1950s, were very animate about sticking to the not sticking, sticking.
That was a Freudian slip there.
My punch was very much infiltrated by OFTD.
By request.
But
So was mine.
But Jamaicans have been so proud of those retort stills. They were actually one of the greatest contributions to the world of rum. We decided to really pay homage to this and create this beautiful blend. Okay?
Well, let's give it a shot.
For those that don't know, Guillaume, the big difference between column and pot distillation is?
Oh, did you want to
No,
take that one?
I'm not that smart. I just make the drinks.
Well,
Oh, what is the difference then?
Well, it's mostly a difference of rectification. Rectification is when you actually have, when you rectify the alcohol. You know, the alcohol molecule in the case of rum, for example, could have up to 400 different congeners or volatile compounds. You know, those make the taste of rum. So that's in the fermentation base when we distill. And each one of them has a different weight. And in a pot still or in a batch distillation, most of those congeners would go through during the distillation process, so as a gas, and then condense, and then be in the distillate. With a column, you have more rectification, which means that those congeners will be evaporated, condensed, and then redistilled to a point where they become much closer to just alcohol. You could, of course, have column stills that would let a lot of the congeners come through, but you also have column stills that distill a lot of the congeners all the way down to alcohol, where you don't have a lot of them at the end. So column stills will always give you actually many more options to distill all that taste, you know, to concentrate all that taste, but mostly it will give you a texture that will be much lighter. Again, there are some columns that could give you a texture a little bit heavier, but there is never such thing as heavy pot still texture and all that taste that automatically comes through. So that's what it is. It's 100% pot still. You know, columns will add a little bit of elegance to a blend, so that's why sometimes it's nice to blend it with pot so that you have big texture and then a balance with a more elegant rum that will create a very complex blend. That's what we do in Barbados, for example, and that's what a lot of Jamaican rums do today, like Money Musk, for example, is a blend of column and pot.
Wow.
Okay?
Well, let's try it.
Anybody else want to try a little bit?
So, Rocky.
Robyn, would you grab some of the glasses?
This night is about Rocky, so it's also about sharing. He was very good at this.
Wow. That's amazing. And Jason, what do you use this in?
Quite a few of the cocktails here, mostly the punches is on the menu. Mm-hmm. Is how we like to serve it.
So this is our brand new baby, and this is also a rum that Rocky was very much a fan of, and there is many pictures of him that you can find online when we launched this at Tales of the Cocktail 2 years ago.
Wow. So this is when did this rum come out then?
It came out actually officially last October.
Last October.
Yes. And since last October until now, we got 12 gold medals.
I can understand why. It's an amazing rum. Has anyone out there had this rum yet? What do you think? It's good stuff.
So it's a Jamaican rum, very traditional, classic, blend of Long Pond and Clarendon. It's a total of 5 different marks. I'm not sure if you know what Jamaican marks are.
What's that?
They're usually more like the signature of a recipe to make rum in a distillery. Just to explain it very quickly,
Yes.
you have different type of fermentations.
Yeah.
Okay, and a specific fermentation will give you a specific base for distillation of a specific distillate. That will be a mark of a distillery, and each mark is registered with the Jamaican government. Some
Yes.
of them are as old as 200 years. So at Long Pond we have about 12 different marks. Long Pond started distilling back in 1758.
Wow.
And Clarendon, where Money Musk is produced, started distilling in 1753. And as of today, they have about 7 marks. So here you have 3 marks of Long Pond, 2 marks of Clarendon, blended all together. Okay, it's a base of 3 to 5 years. All of the components are aged for a second time in France in cognac cask, in our cognac cask. There is also some 8-year-old from Long Pond and some 17-year-old from Long Pond in the blend. So you have so much depth and a lot of very interesting, I don't know if you guys can taste all the tropical fruits, the mango, the banana.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on in that rum, and it's very delicious to drink. Each time you do this, that reminds me so many stories about Rocky.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, let's share a story about Rocky right now. I'm sure there's many.
Let's look for one that's PG-13.
Oh no, it doesn't matter. They could be R. Actually, well, this will be PG-13. Okay, no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Whatever story you want to tell.
All right,
Can you take off your shirts?
I've got a rock.
I don't want this video to get banned from YouTube, Robyn. If I take my shirt off, that's gonna definitely put a mark.
Robyn, it's before 8 o'clock. It's a little bit early for bed.
It was
I've got a Rocky hot dog story. Not like Guillaume's Rocky hot dog story, which is not PG-13.
Yeah, why don't you tell yours first?
Well, yeah. That was Larry's.
Yeah, that was there.
Yeah. So, we were in Cognac, France. Rocky, Alexandre. I don't think Guillaume was there. And a few other people, and we just had this really elegant, nice lunch in Cognac. You know, overstuffed, totally full, can't eat another bite. All pile in the van to drive back to the chateau. Rocky's driving, and for some reason I'm sitting shotgun as we're driving through Cognac, France, and he sees a gas station. He looks at me, he's like, "Hey, you want a gas station hot dog?" I'm not going to tell Rocky no. I was like, "Yeah, sure, I'll take a gas station hot dog."
just say it like that too, like yeah.
Calling his bluff. I was like, "You can't be serious. I just, ate way more than I should have, and I'm sitting here miserable and uncomfortable on the ride back home." And pull into this gas station. I think Robyn waited in the car along with everybody else. So we go into this Cognac gas station, and Rocky, in his best French, orders 2 hot dogs. And they kind of look at him and go into the back and bring out this machine that was 2 spikes. Like, I'm thinking Vad the Impaler, my head's gonna get impaled on this giant metal spike.
Are you talking about the Guar song?
Right? they also bring out a baguette and cut it in half and then impale this baguette on these two spikes while they go and grab these giant foot-long hot dogs and start grilling them up. And I'm like, oh man, this is not the little tiny 6-inch hot dog, gas station hot dog I was expecting. This is another full meal. But I was perplexed, expecting a bun and not expecting a baguette impaled on a hot metal spike. So anyway, baguette comes off of the hot metal spike, condiments go in the cavity, hot dog goes in the cavity. Me and Rocky grab our hot dogs, head back to the van. It's a good hot dog. I've never had bad food in France ever, but I could tell both me and him were full and miserable, but we still choked down our hot dogs, not wanting to back down from each other on this challenge of eating gas station hot dogs.
Well, that's it. It was a chipolata, I bet you.
Right.
That's what they call the sausages there. That they
Wow.
put inside.
No, wait, what do they call it?
Chipolatas. Well, that's a good story, and I don't know about the other hot dog story, but you were asking me a little bit earlier. It's like, what is Rocky? Was he like the Pacific Northwest?
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly thought that when I would see Rocky around here, and I just assumed that he was like a representative for Plantation for like the Pacific Northwest.
Well, Rocky, has he has two different hats. Yes, he was the Pacific Northwest guy.
Yes,
So
he was.
This is the guy you wanted to talk to if you needed some plantation rum in Seattle or in Tacoma.
Yeah.
But he also had another title that he earned in France that was given to him by the team in the cellars. His title was Gardien des Chais.
Okay.
Gardien des Chais means guardian of the cellars.
Okay.
Because Rocky, I don't know if for those of you guys that know him a little bit, was very good with numbers to a point where he would remember any kind of numbers, even the ones that didn't need to be remembered. But he knew very well security codes to get into the cellars. So we have 8 of them, so right? And then he also knew, because we also have some with keys, right? He knew which key would be used for each door. So he would basically take his friends, he would drive the van, go between all the cellars, take his friends, open the cellars. He had his little wine teeth, right? And he knew where every single cask was hidden, like the good ones. So these guys were so impressed by this freaking guy who doesn't speak a word of French. Was just like driving around in Cognac and just walking into these cellars, going to the right cask like he freaking owns the place. So they called him Gardien des Chais. And when that happened, we put it on his business card.
That's an awesome story. So let's move on with the rum here. What do you want to do? Do you want to go to Peru or do you want to go to Fiji?
Let's do Fiji first. So, the reason why I think it's important to taste Fiji after Jamaica is because why would you want to stay in the same ocean? You can just, that's the beauty of rum. You can just go like halfway or a full way around the world, right? And find another country making rum. There is so many different cultures, so many different countries distilling from sugarcane juice or molasses, with tons of different ways, with different type of apparatus like pot stills, columns. It's all about diversity. And I think it's important we taste at Fiji because who knows about Fiji rum? It's actually not very easy to find.
I didn't even know it existed.
Well, we got some at Plantation because we're very good friends with South Pacific Distillery in Fiji. And we happened to start a partnership together where they would allow us to bring in some Fiji rum from their distillery that was aged 7 years. I think that's 7 years for this one.
Oh, this is a 7-year aged rum.
Yes, and then we age it again for another 2 years in France in cognac cask. Okay, so this is to us and to them, what Fiji could be most represented with. It's a very long fermentation, So very much like Jamaica, right? You have a little bit of a grassy element to it. I don't know if you guys can.
Well, let's try it.
smell it. You know, but it's funny because if some of you here are big fans of agricole, for example.
Yeah, do we have any agricole
you will
fans out
find
there?
some notes of agricole rums, right? But guess what? It's from molasses. That's strange.
I'm going to try this.
It's just a beauty,
Oh, wow.
right?
Wow.
Fiji is one of my favorite. Guess for me, I feel like you can really taste the terroir with this one, and the greenness and minerality of it all.
That iodine, almost like salt caramel
Right.
type of aromatics, is really very, very special. And it belongs to those kind of rums. Actually, to be a little bit more technical, it's very close to what you could find sometimes in Guyanese rum, because Fiji rums we have a lot of what we call high alcohols. That's a type of congener, just like esters, for example, that was very much present in the Jamaica. Okay, esters, high alcohol, different type of aromatics. That was more on the banana, the tropical fruits, right? This is more on the salted caramel, chocolate, a little bit of smokiness and grassy notes, right?
Absolutely.
So it's one day I was tasting this with another friend in another bar, and he told me this is like Martinique and Guyana just had a baby, and that's very true, and that's the beauty of rum. It's like you can find things like this half across the world that are so different from the ones we can find in the Caribbean. Okay, this is part of our collection of vintages, and the 2009 is the very first one. There will be more to come because we have started to put out a lot more Fiji rum to age and to play with. We just love what those guys do. They come to France sometimes, they visit their barrels, they like to see what we do as well. And we go to Fiji, not me, I haven't had the privilege to go visit them, but the guy in charge of Asia and Australia definitely went there. He told me it's amazing. It's what they do there, what they distill, how they age it is just incredible. So that's another example of what plantation can do. There is not one plantation rum. There is always different styles of plantation rum.
Absolutely. Jason, what do you use this for in your drinks?
I've honestly never mixed with it.
You drink it to.
Just drink it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a sipping rum.
I mean, I'm more than happy to use it in whatever you want, but it's something you definitely want to experience neat.
Yeah. What do you think of it out there, everyone? Do you like it? Yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, he makes a hell of an old fashioned, I can tell you that.
Maybe a Manhattan too.
Yeah, well, you know my weaknesses.
I know.
This kind of reminds me of my little story about Rocky, and it's like, it was Tiki Con this year down in Portland, and there's room parties that go on at Tiki Con, and you were having a party for the Devil's Reef, which was off the hook. There's like, drinks are given out, there's music being played, it was beautiful. I was having a great time. And Jason goes to me, he goes, you want to leave here and just walk down the hall and then walk until you see Rocky, and then go into that party. And I'm like, well, I'm having a good time here, Robyn, Jason, Stiggins, the whole 9 yards. And you're like, no, you want to go down there. So I walk down, and there's Rocky standing outside. He always has that smile on his face, and he's just like, I'm like, so Jason told me to come down here. And he's like, yeah, come on inside, right? And I come in, it's a smaller room, but it was packed with people. And I'm like, all right, well, here I am. And then I see this table, and it's literally a row of, I don't even know how many plantation rums. Just all these different countries, Trinidad, Fiji, Jamaica, Barbados. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, can I try these? And the guy's like, yeah, try whatever you want.
Thanks, man, Harvey.
I'm like, as much as I want. And he's like, yeah, whatever you want. I'm like, I had like a tear coming down my eye. And I'm like, I hope when I die and go to heaven, I hope this is it. Because I couldn't believe it.
It's like a rum version of Willy Wonka.
Oh my God! I didn't even need the golden ticket, you know? And that's the first time I tried the Fiji rum and the Trinidad and all these other rums. And I'm like, and they were all completely different, but yet they all tasted like a plantation rum to me. And I'll never forget, just Rocky had that smile on his face. It's like, come on in. And like, yeah, I didn't want to leave. That was my highlight of TikiCon 2019. So that's my story. Let's go to Peru.
Well, you know, before we go to Peru,
Before we go to Peru,
I
okay.
have to tell you one thing about Rocky, and that's for us. It's very important. I know tonight we are in one of the best tiki bars in the world.
And you're so right. And here's the thing, and I know that to be true because, you know, I know people all over the country, all over the world, and there's always people reaching out to me. Hey Ray, I'm going to be coming into your area, and they don't even say Seattle anymore. They're all like, we're all coming to Tacoma.
Yeah.
And it's like seriously, like they're like flying into SeaTac and they're coming down to Tacoma, and they're like, we want to go to Devil's Reef, and everyone wants to come here. People from all over the world.
People as far away as London.
Yeah, Neil and Carla, all the way over from there. So yeah, you're an institution, and most of your rums are plantation.
Pretty much 99% of them are. Plantation Rums makes the drinks I want to make, and they make the drinks that I want to make taste the way that I want them to taste.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's an inspiration to me to get behind the bar every day and make these cocktails for everybody.
Well, thank you, Jason. It's what you said is very humbling because Alexandre Gabriel, he's our master blender. He's the producer of Plantation Rum. Always says one thing: we make instruments so that musicians like Jason can play them. We don't play the music. We do listen to it a lot, though.
I love that.
But this is what we do, and Rocky loved this about this company. I said earlier in the week after he passed that we did not choose Rocky. He chose us. Okay, Rocky could have worked for anybody in this world. Okay, but he's always wanted to work with Plantation because one, we're kind of nuts, and he likes that because he's like that too, and two, because we like to have our head in the stars, but we also like to have our feet on the ground, where we know how to make people feel great stuff by drinking great rum, but at the same time, it's a lot of work. Like this man right there spent 6 months putting together that paradise that people are talking about all over the world. This is not having your head in the stars to just work for 6 months and having only 1 day off.
True.
Right?
Me and Robyn spent 6 months here. We had a little help here along the way with some friends that just wanted to come and play, but our hands were dirty every day, cutting and nailing and sawing and painting and gluing.
There is no secret. It's like making great spirits, and that's what Rocky loved about Plantation Rum and about Maison Ferrand. And what we love so much about him was his knowledge and his connection and his understanding of the Tiki community.
Yeah.
See, Tiki is a culture. You just don't get into Tiki by reading a book one night.
No.
Okay, you want to get into Tiki by reading certain books that are absolutely fantastic, but then you have to go to the conferences, you have to go to the conventions and learn about Tiki, and just get all those little details that make a bar like this so enjoyable.
Yeah.
And Rocky knew all of that stuff, and he was our special envoy. He was our Plantation Rum Navy SEAL going into the Tiki conventions. And he made us so proud, and I hope you guys enjoyed having Rocky at your side as well. But Yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about on Rocky.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
should we have some rum?
So now we go to Peru.
So this one is a very rare plantation rum because we made
This is rare.
yeah, very rare 10 casks of this for the entire world.
And it says on here, selected by Jason Alexander for Devil's Reef.
So how that came about, Rocky came to me a year ago with a little briefcase with some vials. And he said, hey, this is this year's Black Label Vintage barrel samples. Taste them all, let me know which one you want. So I tasted quite a few, and I was like, I like that one. He's like, all right, we'll see you in a year. I was like, sounds good. Year later, this beauty arrives at our doorstep to share with everybody.
Now, did you know that this was going to happen?
Well, yeah, because Rocky brought me the barrel samples to,
Okay.
to taste and to choose one. So,
Wow.
Robyn's passing around a dump bucket in case anybody didn't. That's what I like to hear. Nobody had anything left. Thank you. There's
No, actually, if you had rum to give back, you would be kicked out. Get out of here. That's what I call alcohol abuse.
So we went to Jamaica, right?
Yes.
And then we little leap to Fiji in the Pacific, and now back to South America.
South America.
Okay, in Peru. And just to have a complete, not a complete travel, but just to give you a lot of different pointers on how rum could be so different all over the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. This is also great partners for us. We love to work with them. We had the Vintage Peru, the Vintage 2004 that actually won the best rum in the world at the London International Wine and Spirits competition. There is some of that in that blend. It's actually a multi-vintage of Peru, 2010, 2006, and 2004. Okay? That we blended those 3 different vintages, and then we had them as a blend aged in cognac cask. And after this, we did a third aging, maturation. I don't like the term finish in that case because we don't use wet cask, which is a different technique, in Willet rye whiskey cask.
Rye whiskey?
Yes. So this
Okay.
is Peruvian rum that has been aged in cognac cask and then a third aging in rye whiskey cask in France. So a very rare bird right there. So take a snapshot of this because it's extinct. It's extinct already.
I think I have 2 or 3 bottles left, and then when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, so no one is wasting any of this. Let's go to try it.
Yeah.
For Rocky.
Cheers. Cheers.
He would be so proud of us right now, I can tell you.
Yeah.
So you see, it's completely different from Fiji. Completely different,
Oh, it's not. Yeah, it's yeah. Wow.
right?
Wow.
Now, what's really cool about Peruvian rum? Because to this one, I've been to. Because sometimes I go to Peru, so I went up there and went to visit the guys. It's actually in a little village called Cartavio. It's called the Cartavio Distillery.
Okay.
And
And you went there.
I went there,
Okay.
yes. I spent the whole day with them. You know, they showed me all around, and it's very different. There is they have cellars first of all that are, you know, I don't know if you've been to France to Versailles. You know that big castle, which is
Oh, wow.
absolutely luxurious. To me, this is like the Versailles of cellars. It's absolutely gorgeous. You
Wow.
have barrels after barrels. Every single barrels there is laying down. You don't have anything standing up, so it's aged really like the old way, the old European way in a way. And then you have a lot of. It's very rare to find this, but it's not 99% bourbon cask like you would find in a lot of rum distilleries. You have actually a good 25 to 30% of wine cask, sherry cask, Madeira. Okay, so that's very interesting because they don't have those casks just aging separately. Right? What they do is that they do a first aging, and then they blend all the rums together, and they refill those casks with that blend. Wow. So they do what they call Solera, right? But for us, Solera is more like progressive blending, where you blend as you age, and you blend all those different casks together, giving that little bit of oxidation of wine. You feel it, right? You have a little bit of oxidized component.
Yeah.
Not grape, not fruit, but maybe like a red fruit, but very little. And then by aging in all those casks, all those years, you get that concentration that's just fascinating. And then what's really cool there is that it's super dry, except of course where they get hurricanes, right? But so to avoid losing 10 to 12% of the barrel every year, they steam the cellars.
Really?
Yeah, so they have like vaporization of water in the cellars.
Wow.
To keep it down. So actually those casks, even though they are on the ground level, they very much age in a humid environment. So you work, imagine yourself, you walk in those beautiful cellars, which is like Versailles. It's beautiful. And then you have that steam, so it's steamy. So it's like being in a fog, in a jungle of barrels. It's incredible. So anyways, just talking about it, I have goosebumps. It's and the cane too. It's another very rare thing about rum is to have actually the cane from the country that is used for the molasses. Sometimes in the Caribbean, and most of the time it's not the case. There is unfortunately not as much sugarcane as we used to have on the islands. Okay, here it's all from the Chicama Valley, which is right around the distillery, the Chicama River, which comes down from the Andes, from the mountains, okay, and still keeps those canes irrigated. They have a whole irrigation system, so it's really the cane from the valley that produces the sugar and the molasses that go in that rum. So it's just a beautiful thing. You guys like it? Yeah, right?
It's incredible.
Rocky would have loved that one, I can tell you.
For Rocky?
With passion.
Cheers.
That's an amazing rum.
Right?
So good.
Well, I happen to like white whiskey too. I think this one is, yes, this one is 50% alcohol. So you get already something that's way up there, but still drinks like a charm. Because, yes, sir.
Jason, was there anything specific that made you choose the Peru?
Rocky.
We brought you the whole suitcase of things. Was there anything about that flavor?
Well, I love the flavor. Just the blend of the rums and the vintages and the bourbon, cognac, and rye aging made for something very complex. The notes of coffee and vanilla and spice, and I liked it, and I wanted to share it with everybody else.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing this with us. Much appreciated.
There are some treasures out there. I was just saying a little bit earlier, with all those, we call them the black labels, all those single casks. I think there is a collector in Sweden that has over 200 bottles of Plantation Rum now. Because there is a lot of them that we don't get in the US, because in the US, as you know, we have to get every single label approved. In Europe, they can take a product just like a magician would take a rabbit out of a hat. It's like, oh, I got a new product.
Yeah, no.
I mean, here we have to go through the federal government, and then we can do the rabbit trick. But so we don't have as many in 750 ml, but in 70 cl, there is so many different plantation rums from our cellars. Yes, sir. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
How many different bottlings of the Peru do you do?
So we have a 2004 vintage, which is completely sold out. 2006 vintage is for sale now. And then we have this single cask that was released last year. This year was another single cask, 2010 Peru in Pinot de Charente. I don't know if you've ever had Pinot de Charente. It's like a mutated wine. So we stop the fermentation with cognac, and then we age it in cognac cask for 5 years. So you have all the residual sugar from the grape juice. It's delicious.
I do have some Pinot.
So what we do is like, because we have actually that Peru 2010 that has a lot of, remember that oxidized type of wine, sherry, Madeira note goes so well with the fresh grapes of the Pinot de Charente. It's absolutely delicious. So that's another single cask. And I know they put some Peru in port cask too. I've tasted them there. And then the other Peru that we have available in the cellar, frankly, you would have to ask the Gardien des Chais, but he's not here, because he probably knew where you could find the most interesting Peru, in Cognac right now. And we worked with them all the time. They also have a beautiful John Doerr pot still there, and I think at some point we'll be releasing a 100% John Doerr pot still Peru rum, because this one is a blend of pot and column. Yes, so yeah, there's gonna be some pretty cool stuff if you like Peru rum.
Yeah, does anyone out there like Peru rum?
So, and then, we also like to work on other type of origins. We also had some reunion rums, from, the Indian Ocean. And
Really?
Yeah. It's some really cool stuff that I also enjoy very much. We don't have a ton of it. We're also working on some other origins right now that I can not really talk about, but also from the Pacific. And definitely Jamaica, a lot of Jamaica. Because we have access to an incredible stock of Long Pond rums. There is actually one that was released this year, if you can ever get your hands on it. It's a Jamaica 2009 CRV. That's the CRV mark of Long Pond. I should bring you one of those bottles.
Please do.
The CRV mark.
And let me know when that happens,
So
Jason.
Long Pond.
I'll make sure everybody gets a taste.
Everyone meaning me.
So the CRV mark is the only Long Pond that was ever distilled in the column. Which for Long Pond is, mostly 100% pot still. But they had a column we call an Old Blair. Blair is the brand of the column. Since the 1950s, that exploded in 2010. So the thing got destroyed. We don't know what happened exactly. But if you go there, it's beautiful. That column is still there. And you have all those quadrants. It's like being in an old James Bond movie. And we have a 2009 of this.
Oh, wow.
So the year before it exploded.
Yeah. So we have that in stock, in Cognac, in our cask. And we just released a 2009 CRV in Tokai cask. So Hungarian wine cask. It's delicious stuff. It's pretty good.
That's the thing that I love about Plantation Rum, is just that you're not resting on your laurels. Because you're always coming out with new product. That's all unique.
Well, that's because we do have a master blender and the owner of the company that just cannot stop.
Don't
thinking.
stop.
He
This
cannot
is
stop.
that's my message to the president. Keep
It's-
it coming. I mean,
it's-
unbelievable.
He's just extremely prolific about putting out new things. That black label single cask program. This is the only way we found to calm the man down a little bit. Because if we didn't have this, we would have a new product like every month. But now we do it once a year. We do a release. So basically, we can share all these experiments with the world. But if you come to Cognac, by the way, if you come to Barbados, you will also see all the things we have in the cellar. At Ferrand, we have a gas stove with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 back burners with things cooking. You can be sure that for the next 10 years, we will always have something to present to you because it's just working non-stop on your things, non-stop.
I tell you what, thank you very much for coming out to Tacoma and sharing all your stories, and Jason sharing this rum with everyone. And how I want to take out the show is just a real simple message, because I was thinking about what to say for this show, and like when I did my episode with Rocky and you, Jason, I didn't know that like that was going to be the last time I was going to talk to him.
It's a treasure.
Yeah.
It's a what?
Treasure.
Treasure. Oh, totally.
And here's the thing, it's just like, if I can say anything to any of you guys out there, I mean, cherish your friends, cherish your family, because you don't know. That might be the last time you might talk to them. I had no idea that that would be the last time that I would talk to Rocky. And yeah, just cherish your friends, cherish your family, because you never know. Life is fragile. I mean, he's going to live on through us and Plantation Rum, but like, just, cherish every day and just cherish every moment you have with your friends or your ohana. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. This means a lot to all of us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, let's finish this rum now.
If,
There's some.
if anybody wants a little Stiggins. If
Oh,
nobody
this-
knows,
All of a sudden, I see Jason trying to.
one last
He's putting
round.
out his.
that was Robyn. But there's one last Rocky story.
One last Rocky story. Yeah, let's take it on a lighter note.
I got my very first dog almost 3 years ago. And Robyn's like, what are you going to name him? As I'm driving home, one-handed on the steering wheel while I'm cradling this little pooch in my arm, not going to let him go because I'm not going to let her have him. Like, this one's mine. This one's mine. And going through the list of every name I could think of, and was like, I'm going to name him Stiggins. Because it just seemed appropriate at the time. And told Rocky, and Rocky loved it, and he was like, oh, that's great. And a couple years later, we met Larry and Rocky in Seattle. Well, come back here, come on.
Bring it back.
So Rocky and Larry surprised me and Robyn with this portrait of Stiggins the dog.
That's
So
awesome.
regal.
Here,
So if anybody would like a little taste of Stiggins,
here's Stiggins. Here, boy. Here.
So, for the story, so you know,
Thank you.
the Reverend Stiggins was actually a character from the Pickwick Papers from Charles Dickens in Victoria, England in 19th century. And he was a priest preaching temperance, getting drunk on pineapple rum.
Way too hard on that.
Okay. So that's why Stiggins is wearing those 19th century clothes.
Just pass it around.
There was the Reverend Stiggins who was the funniest hypocrite that ever preached temperance.
So anyway, I wasn't there, but I was told some stories when Plantation moved to Prime Spirits, that Rocky showed up to one of their sales meeting and with the portrait of Stiggins and unveiled it at this meeting, and everyone was like, what the hell? What is that? Why is there a dog? And Rocky's like, this is Stiggins. This is Jason and Robyn's dog.
But you know, this is Rocky. You know, Rocky is about spreading love, and that's what he did very well, and being very inclusive. You know, and that's really the message, you know, for the Rocky. That's we all should love each other. That's very important. That's what it was. You know, I don't know anybody that didn't like Rocky, and I don't think anybody ever made him angry.
No?
You know, it's all about inclusiveness, respect of diversity. He was there for everybody.
One last toast to Rocky.
To Rocky.
To Rocky.
Cheers.
Those little glasses are very nice.
Ray, I've got a little story.
Robyn has a story. You can
Robyn's
switch
coming
places
in.
with.
Robyn's coming in.
Okay, this is Tiki with Robyn. So a couple months ago, Alexandre came to visit Devil's Reef, and Rocky decided he was going to make us all kind of a brunch. And so there was maybe, 15, 20 people, do you think? So Rocky proceeded to cook food in the kitchen for about, 50, 60 people. And it was amazing, of course. Destroyed the kitchen, absolutely destroyed the kitchen. And so Victor came in the next day to kind of clean up, and he was like, "What happened in here?" And he was not super happy about it. And so this weekend, the topic of conversation was, aren't we so glad that Rocky destroyed our kitchen? And Victor was like, yes. That's my Devil's Reef, Rocky and our kitchen story.
Thank you, Robyn, for that story.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone, thank you very much for coming out. This means a lot to me and everyone here. But aloha, mahalo, good night. Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.